Welcome to Allies or Enemies, where we talk about games that work well for two players. And today we are talking about 7 of those games at once with Unmatched. Designed primarily by Rob Daviau and Justin Jacobson, Unmatched is a mostly 2-player game that can work for 3 or 4 in a pinch, and generally takes about 20 minutes to play. It's a straight-up fighting game that uses a deck of cards and some cool minis on a map to act out fantasy battles that smash together characters from fairy tales, literature, TV, movies, and Bruce friggin' Lee. We are going to run through each of the sets briefly later, but first, let's look at how it plays.
Unmatched is amazingly streamlined. You can learn the game in less than a minute. On your turn, you can do 2 of any combination of 3 possible actions. 1, maneuver, draw a card, and then move up to your speed. You can discard a card to boost this with the small number. 2, scheme, play one of those lightning bolt cards and do what it says. 3, attack. Compare your attack card to your opponent's chosen defense card, taking into account card powers. Some cards can be used by heroes, some by sidekicks, some by anyone. These are usually melee, but some characters can also ranged attack if they are in the same zone. You keep track of damage by turning your handy dial, and when your character gets to 0, you lose. There are also printed card powers on each character card and a hand limit of 7 cards, and that is absolutely everything. It is simple and efficient and a lot more fun because of it.
For the most part, Unmatched kills it in the design department. Check out this art, it's really, really cool. Just look at these cards. All of the cards have their own variations in style, but Restoration Games does a terrific job of making each character unique, but still fitting it all into the same basic aesthetic. The characters themselves are also terrific, with dynamic sculpts that look just as good unpainted. The dials are great and even come with extra connectors if they come loose. Even the little plastic pucks that are used as sidekicks work well. The only possible iffy are the boards, which are well designed functionally, but look a bit basic compared to everything else. And it's a bit of a bummer that a couple of the 2-pack boards only have maps on one side. But still, everything else is enough to more than make up for it.
This is really a pure 2-player game. That is its bread and butter. A 1v1 chess match with swords and harpies and a lot of blood. There is a 4-player team variant that works fine but can only use half the maps, and a 3-player version that can have some weird dynamics, but this game is best when it's played in a series of short matches that are mono a Bigfoot, letting you run through a few characters in one sitting.
Here's where it gets crazy and maybe a bit expensive. Unmatched is more of a system than a game. There are already 3 base games, 3 one-on-one 2-player expansions, and 1 Bruce Lee. And there are oodles more planned, including Marvel and a T-Rex. That means quite a lot of variation. And because each fighter feels unique, it really is more than just quantity. Also, it is worth noting that although some characters are a bit stronger and some a bit weaker, you generally feel like you are in it with a chance every game, so everyone feels at least somewhat viable. But some packs are still better than others, so let's take a minute or 2 and walk through those here.
The original base set features King Arthur, Medusa, Sinbad, and Alice with a very hefty Vorpal blade. Unmatched came out of the gates knowing what it wanted to be. Each character has a different feel and a special mechanic. The 2 maps feel different, and the look of everything sets a high bar. Most agree that Medusa's the strongest and Arthur's a little bit lacking, but despite what others have reported, we haven't seen a giant swing in our wins and losses between characters. If you only had this set, you could pretty happily play this game with no qualms.
While we love the base game, Cobble and Fog definitely feels like it levels it all up. The mechanics are just a bit slicker, the maps a bit more interesting, and the characters a bit cooler. This is classic English horror with Jekyll and Hyde, Invisible Man, and Dracula, plus Sherlock to thwart their plans. And thwart he does, because Sherlock might be MVP of every character so far. But all 4 of these are fun to play and capture the feel of their characters well. This is probably our favorite of the bunch.
The final battle for King of the Forest. Again, we like the characters and the maps, which in this case are 2-player specific, but it's a bit of a weird matchup. Robin's strengths are his range, which is a rarity for unmatched heroes, and his gang of 4 merry men, while Bigfoot moves fast, punches hard, and carries a very big stick. I'm not sure how many times I'd be able to run this one-on-one before it started to feel a bit stale, but as an expansion to one of the base games, this pack adds some nice variety.
If you are looking to get just one box with 2 characters, this is the best of the bunch. As a one-on-one battle, Jurassic Park works really well. One player controls 3 clever girls, while the other takes the role of the engine security force that is trying to contain / not get eaten by them. The 2 sides are really well matched, and the map helps give players ways to corral each other in. It's a bit of a shame that the board is only one-sided, but it's a small complaint, especially when you can mix and match these and finally see if Sherlock Holmes can solve the case of his missing intestines.
The one and only solo pack on the list is the biggest outlier in the Unmatched line, Bruce Lee, the only non-fiction fighter and honestly one of the very, very few actual historical people that I 100% believe could take down Dracula and Bigfoot. Lee has a combo chaining offense heavy style that is meant to mimic his real life style of Jeet Kune Do, and he is as fun as he is cool.
Speaking of weird additions, the Unmatched team were striking while the iron was not at all hot when they added hero of the 1st century epic poem Beowulf to the mix. But to their credit, the 2,000-year-old Viking butt kicker looks awesome and is really fun to play, as is his 2-pack rival Little Red Riding Hood, who uses her discards to chain together special abilities. What surely started as a fun play on Big Bad Wolf actually turned into one of the better packs in the game.
While we love the characters, this is maybe the weakest link in the Unmatched line. Maybe it's because 3 of the 4 have basically the same fighting style as they do in the actual show, but unfortunately Buffy, Willow, Spike, and Angel all feel a bit too vanilla when compared to the other sets, and even more unfortunately, they mostly don't match up well when mixed and matched with the classic literary and fairy tale characters. On the plus side, maps are both fun, and the characters work fine against each other, so if you're just getting it for the IP, you won't be too disappointed.
We'll keep this short and sweet. If you want a one-on-one combat system that drops the dice, this one is pretty hard to beat. The characters feel different, the game plays quickly, and it is easy to find yourself running through 4 or 5 games in a night. The only downside is even though you could happily play just one set for quite some time, it will be almost impossible not to chase down the whole kit and caboodle once you start. It is almost painfully collectible. But if you want to rumble, Unmatched is tough to match. And that is it. Please let us know in the comments if you've played the game and what your favorite characters are. And as always, please do like and subscribe, and hopefully we'll see you all next time for another game.